Hello, I'm Ray Vardaman. We'd like to welcome you to the Dollarway High School Band reunion of classes of 19 from 60 to 68. Students of Perry Hope, as we have a great time today, paying tribute to Perry Hope. Thanks for the memories. I would like to pay special thanks to the committee and planning on this, Tommy Thompson, Sammy Bearden, Sharon Tisdale Bearden, Diana Harris Dollar, Donna Harris Smith, David Walters, and I think that's everybody on the committee. If I've left somebody out, I'll recognize them later. But we're going to have a great time today and paying special tribute to the man that had such a great impact on our life while we were in high school, the director of the Dollarway High School Band, Perry Hope. Thanks for the memories.
Best thing I can say about Mr. Hope is he's the greatest man on earth. Sam Bearden. I live in Pine Bluff. Retired. Bounty hunter. The last 5 years, yes, it really was. I played bass, drum, and trombone. Yes, no I don't. I graduated in 67, but I don't remember what year I started. I didn't start the year the band did, I know that. But I don't remember what year I started.
I'm Tommy Simmons. I went to Dollarway and graduated in 70. Played tuba under Mr. Hope. Was under his direction from 62 to 68.
What do you have to say about him?
He's a wonderful man. He done a lot for me in school, helped me get through high school.
Where do you live?
I live here in Pine Bluff, and I work for the Highway Department.
Fine, you?
All right, thanks. Your name?
Tyler Thompson. Tom Thompson.
How are y'all doing?
Tom Thompson. In Little Rock.
And what do you do?
I'm an optometrist there.
And when did you play?
I played saxophone and I was drum major for a while.
What do you have to say about Mr. Hope?
Oh, he's the one that he gave us a rudder. For those of us that were kind of looking for some sense of direction, he certainly gave it to us. And discipline, and he was always consistently fair, and I always appreciate him for that. It's great.
Appreciate it. We'll cut it out.
Okay. My name's Diane Harris Dollar, and I live in Dardanelle, Arkansas. Moved there about 2.5 years ago. I work in Little Rock. I played clarinet from probably 1963 to 1968. And I'm really excited to be here, and it's just wonderful to see Mr. Hope again. He's just a wonderful man. You know, he means a lot to me. He'll never know how much he meant to me.
That's what we want.
Fine. I'm Donna Harris Smith. I'm from Pine Bluff and Tulsa. I played the flute from 62 to 68. I'm correcting Diane, she's wrong. Mr. Hope, you don't know what you meant to us. You were the whole existence for going to school. And out of all the memories we have from school, you're the one that we treasure the most. You're the one we always talk about when we talk about school. And this is something that we have been looking forward to for so long. I just wished everyone could be here.
That's good. Doing great.
Your name?
Vicki Moore,
And where you live?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
What do you do?
I run a food warehouse.
And when did you play?
Oh, Lord, let's think. It's 6th grade, so I'm not sure what the year was, but I was the last one in 68.
Now, what did you play?
Trombone. First girl trombone player at Dollarway High School. So I had to be good at it because I was the only girl.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
He was probably one of the most inspirational people that I remember from growing up. As far as the father figure, gave you encouragement, let you know when things weren't right. I mean, he was a terrific man. Okay, thanks.
All right, How you doing?
Okay.
Your name?
Roberto Redwood.
And where do you live?
I live in Kansas City now, Missouri.
And what do you do?
I work for AT&T. I'm a long-distance international operator. I've been there 21 years.
When did you play?
Oh, Lord, I played the clarinet from, Donna, help me on this. What year?
It would have been 63.
63 through 69. I played clarinet, contrabass, and bass clarinet. Me and Esther Jones. Oh, it was wonderful.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, God, there's not enough good things to say about Mr. Hope. Him and his wife, oh, they're wonderful. I remember the times we all went to Hot Springs, and we pulled off that, what was it, a 4? Is that the highest we could get? Oh, we got a 1. Okay, I knew it was 4 or 1 or something. And we were just, it's fantastic. He's a wonderful person. Okay, yes, ma'am.
You can stand with her if you want to. I'm standing with her.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
Your name?
Judy Law. Judy Cotner Law.
Where you live?
Pine Bluff.
And what do you do?
I'm a hairdresser.
And when did you play and what did you play?
I played, graduated in 1967 and played for 6 years before that. 61. I played the clarinet. Yes, I did. I sure did.
What do you have to say about Mr. Hope?
I think he was the grandest band director there was. He was just super. So, I live here in Pine Bluff. Yeah, I was a majorette my senior year. I sure was. Senior year as a majorette. Okay.
How you doing?
Fine. Johnny Cotner Green. I played the clarinet, and I was a majorette. I don't know what. I graduated in 71. Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
I'm a receptionist for a dentist here in town, Dr. Carl Plaisher.
And what do you think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, we love Mr. Hope. We should have never left. But I only had him for like 1 year. So.
Figure out the sound. Ray Martin.
Fine. Bob G. Here in Pine Bluff. Worked for the railroad.
And when did you play?
I played up till time Mr. Hope left in 68, I guess. Drums.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, I love him. He's like a father to me almost. I always thought that way. Okay.
Everybody, go get y'all's name.
Hi, I'm Lynn Baker George now.
Where do you live?
I'm in Benton, Arkansas right now.
What do you do?
I work for the state as an accounting tech.
When did you play and what did you play?
What years? The last year I played was 70, but I started in 65, and I played the drums. Way back, yeah, way back when. And that's been, I hadn't even touched him since then.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, I think he looks great. I hadn't seen a lot of these people in 30 years, and I'm just really excited about seeing everybody. I was when I got the letters. I started getting on the phone and calling. I've been gone from Pine Bluff since 80 for good, so it's been 18 years since I've been back much at all. Of course, still have relatives and friends I haven't seen in 30 years. That's really sad because too many of us were joined at the hip for so many years, and after graduation, nobody seemed to know where everybody went.
I'm Ann Grantham Haynes, and I live at Star City, and I joined the band in 65, graduated in 71. I played the flute. And right now, I'm just a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids.
What do y'all think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, I love him. I knew him before I started band through some other friends of Mr. Hope's and my parents. And I've always thought about him. I've always loved him and his wife both. He started me out on band.
He kept a lot of us out of trouble, I'm sure, in the band, because you didn't get in trouble when Mr. Hope found out about it. You wouldn't be playing or marching.
Yeah. One of the things we really enjoyed was like forging his signature so we could get out of study hall to go to the band room. I mean, his signature was so easy to forge, and we did that quite a bit.
It was just kind of
right.
Yeah.
Just kind of make a line there that way. I get my signature that way
Yes.
also now.
Find out.
It's been a great time. So, Rendell Rutledge.
Where do you live?
I live in Norwich, Connecticut.
And what do you do?
I'm a minister. Yes, I have a outreach center, reach around, take Bibles to different countries. But I was with Mr. Hope the very first day he started the Dollarway band, and I was his only trombone player. First week I was in school, broke my arm. And so I had to train Ray Vardaman during that time, and then Ray Vardaman beat me out of my seat. But we have so many good memories. And Mr. Hope was like, he's a teacher of teachers, and he's been a big, big inspiration to me. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I found him about 6 years ago in Little Rock. He's music oriented. He plays. He doesn't read.
I'm a professional player, but I don't play horns. I play keyboards, write music. So that's what I've been doing for about 30 years. Ron George.
My name is Jackie Minty. I graduated in 1967. Played trombone for Perry Hope.
Where do you live?
I live in Everett, Washington. I'm a middle school band director on Whidbey Island in the Puget Sound.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, he was a tremendous influence on me. He's one of the reasons I'm a band director today. Fine man. All right.
Arkansas. I'm a court clerk, and I played the alto saxophone.
What year did you play? Or when did you graduate?
Well, I graduated in 1972. I actually had Mr. Hope as a band director for the first 2 years that I was in band.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, I love him. I thought he was great. Thank you.
I'll talk to them.
Okay, he's older than I am. He's about
I'm rolling, buddy.
My name is Sharon Pounders Weaver. I live in Burke, Virginia. So I work for the Army and the Pentagon in the budget arena.
When did you play and what did you play?
I was not in the band. I was a band maid in 1964. So I.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
63 actually. What do I think about what?
Mr. Hope.
Mr. Hope, as I recall, was a very nice person, and he was a great band teacher. And we really enjoyed him when he was at Dollarway. So.
Hi.
What's your name?
David Walters.
Where you live?
In Sheridan, Arkansas.
What do you do?
I work for the Democrat Gazette in Little Rock.
And when did you play and what did you play?
Well, I was in the first band and started in '61 and played baritone saxophone.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Well, I think he's a fine man. He's a fine man. He was a good role model for us all to look up to. And
I'm John Hurd, and I'm from Little Rock. I am in multimedia production, video production, and things like that. We produce CD-ROM titles.
And when did you play?
In the original band, 1961, I played trumpet. And
what do you think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, Mr. Hope's great. We'll remember him as long as we live. Absolutely. He made an impression on all our lives.
Thank you.
I'm Janie Gardner Cunningham. I live in Boobie. I'm a choir teacher. I teach 7 through 12.
When did you play and what did you play?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. I didn't graduate from Dollarway. I left there in the 10th grade in 1968, I believe, 67. And I played string bass and timpani.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Well, he had a big impact on my life. He was always a very loving and caring teacher, one I'd like to be like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I tried to run downstairs.
How you doing?
Fine. How are you? Good. Sharon, Tisdale, Bearden.
Where do you live?
I live in Pine Bluff at Watson Chapel.
What do you do?
I'm a teacher with the Department of Corrections School District.
And when and what did you play?
I played the bass clarinet from my 6th grade through my 9th grade with Mr. Hope.
Remember what year that was?
Probably 66 through 68.
And what do you remember most about Mr. Hope?
That he was a very encouraging person, and that he was always wanting us to do our best, encouraged us to do our best.
Fine.
Your name?
Judy Brown,
Where you live?
here in Pine Bluff.
What do you do?
I'm a banker in Little Rock.
And when and what did you play?
From 1960 to 66, I played the flute.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, I love Mr. Hope. I've always loved Mr. Hope.
When did we start the band? 60? Well, was it from 60 to 64? Yeah. I played the clarinet. Julie Weaver, Pine Bluff. I work in Dumas. I'm a service clerk at a John Deere dealership.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
I love Mr. Hope. Everybody loves Mr. Hope. Thank you. I made this for Mr. Hope. This is Janie Winckelmann, our mother, and she was very instrumental in the band. She took all of our instruments around for us and was kind of a chaperone, and she just did it all.
No, except we enjoyed the band. Worked hard to get it started and keep it up.
I'm doing fine. Glad to be here. My name is Brenda Castile. My maiden name was Brenda Rutledge, and I went to Dollarway High School.
Who played in the band?
My brother, Ren Rutledge, played in the band. He was, so involved in it that I couldn't help but be part of it, but I really wasn't a band member at the time, but I always hung around my big brother.
You do play music?
Yes, I do. I play organ, piano, and I started in the clarinet in the band and then went on to the saxophone. And Yes, I haven't seen him since we had left Pine Bluff. It's been many years. I was just a little girl when we left. We left Dollarway community for a short time and went up around Kansas and then came back. And so because of that, I was in and out of different schools. Everything that all my opinions are from my brother, and I think he's sort of partial. He's just crazy about him. He owes everything, I think, musically as far as band to Mr. Hope, and highly comments about how wonderful a teacher he was and that he was a great influence on his life. So, I hear the praises of Perry Hope all the time.
I may if I can get 2 notes out of the horn. I haven't tried yet. Where's the script?
Right here. Ask what the script is. Did you play with Dollarway? What year did you play?
I don't remember. I think it was 60 to 68.
What did you play?
Baton. Second baton. My wife was first baton. She's upstairs. You want to talk to her.
Okay, what's your name?
Perry Hope.
Are you Perry?
I was when I came in. I don't know whether I still am or not, but I don't know whether I can get anybody to testify or witness that or not, but what do I think about? Food, sleep. Well, what I think about Dollarway, the years I was there, probably the most wonderful years of my life, except for finding the woman of my life and having 4 kids. It's probably the most wonderful time of my life, those 8 years I was there.
What do you remember? Anything specific?
I remember too much. And I'm not going to say much because I think some of these folks that were in the bands those years probably know as much about me, so I'm not going to tempt fate, all right? No, not knowingly at least.
Where do you live?
Jonesboro. Been there close to 15 years now.
Are you still directing?
Oh, no, Lord, no. I gave up directing in order to pay bills. In '69, went back into the Army for 5 years, got out of debt. Barbara got a vacation, week's vacation in Honolulu. And then went to graduate school and came out and became a superintendent. Had a couple of schools, survived that, and then I became a co-op director. And I retired last year, July 1st, a year ago. I has been. So anything you can name that I used to do is in the past.
But they were good years.
Oh, yes, yes.
You have some wonderful memories.
Oh, yes. Even those I can remember, yes. Marvelous time. And the most marvelous group of youngsters I ever worked with in my life. Worked several other places, always had good people, good parents, but the years at Dollarway were so special. They're just head and shoulders above everything else. Can you take both me and my friend here?
Jennifer Hurd, Little Rock. Well, I work at Baptist Hospital.
When did you play and what did you play?
We were, let's see, I was in the band in the early 60s, early and mid 60s, and I played clarinet.
Think about Mr. Hope.
Oh, I think he's wonderful, and Barbara is too. We're really enjoying this. Yeah, thank you.
Huh?
Your name?
Paula Daly. I live on Louise Road in Pine Bluff.
Tell everybody what you do.
What?
What do you do?
I'm a railroad engineer.
When and what did you play?
I played the bass drum, and it was about like 62 and 63.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
I love Mr. Hope very much, and always have, and always will. Uh-huh. This is my husband, John Daly.
I think one thing you didn't tell her, her maiden name was Ernest, and a lot of people probably didn't know what her name was.
My name is Daryl Greer. I live in League City, right next to Houston, Texas. I'm an attorney, do trial law. I used to play the baritone. I was in the band for 8 years. And what I think about Mr. Hope, I always admired and respected him, and probably let him down a lot of times, which I really regret. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Steve Penny. I'm married to Leslie, daughter of Perry Hope.
Where do y'all live?
We're in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
What do you do?
I work at Gilbert Industry. I deal with shipping there, and Leslie works at Southwestern Bell. And we're glad to be here and support Perry Hope and Barbara Hope.
Thank you.
I'm Leslie Penny. I'm Perry Hope's oldest daughter. This is my grandmother, Rita Chapman. This is Barbara Hope's mother and Perry Hope's mother-in-law.
What do you have to say?
It's just wonderful to be here. I had no idea I'd ever get to be. And I think it's just the most wonderful thing that his students have done to honor him like they have. It's just great.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Well, being his mother-in-law, I naturally think he's a pretty good guy.
Well, of course you love him.
Yes, I love him very much. He's been coming to my house since he was about 16 years old, and he's just a nice person, and I'm glad he's my son-in-law. He gave me 4 nice grandchildren, and I love all of them very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
My name is Leslie Penny, Leslie Hope Penny.
Doing?
I'm doing just fine. I'm Linda Sue Jacks Johnston. I was in Dollarway High School Band and from 1960 to 1962. I played first chair flute. Mr. Hope was our first band director of the Dollarway High School. He didn't allow any chewing gum in our class because he had made me write 500 times, no chewing gum. So I went home and thought about it, and I wrote mine down on toilet paper and took it back to him.
How did he respond to that?
He got down behind the podium and started laughing because he said, well, I didn't tell you what to write it on, did I?
Well, that's true.
And I'm real glad to be here, and I'm glad to see we've had so many of our friends come back out and visit with everybody. Thank you.
You gonna follow my introduction, all kids?
Okay.
Well, I'm Perry Jr., better known as Pete. I'm gonna say I'm here with my dad's band reunion. I really don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here anyway. We've got Matthew Penny here. This is Hunter Hope. That's my little brother Chuck's boy. This is Emily Hope. This is Amy Penny. This is my fiance Dinah Chance.
Where do y'all live?
We live in Jonesboro. And these two, Hunter and Emily, live in Little Rock. My brother Chuck.
What do you do?
What do I do? Jonesboro Chimney Service. That's what I'm doing right now.
Do you play any kind of musical instrument?
No.
You play like your dad?
No. I started to, but that was left behind many years ago. That's about it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Go ahead and look I'll just look at you.
Your name?
My name is Chuck Hope. I'm Perry Hope's youngest son.
What do you have here with you?
I have my wife Dina and my son Hunter down here, and he wants me to raise him up, and my daughter Emily. and she's around here somewhere.
What do y'all do?
I work down here at Haverty Furniture in Pine Bluff, and my wife takes care of the children, and that's about twice as much work as what I do.
And did you ever learn to play any kind of musical instrument?
I played the trumpet for a couple of years and was not a very good success, but everybody in the family played some kind of instrument, but I never quite took to it like everybody else.
What do you think about your dad?
He's an amazing man. I was kind of teasing the other night that I said, well, most people get together and have a function like this after you pass away. And I said, it's kind of nice to get together now while you're still living and share some memories. But I tell you, to me, he's always just been my dad. And for everybody else here to think this much of him, to get together and have a nice get-together like this, it's quite an honor. Okay? You're very welcome. Oh, Dina. This is my wife, Dina, and this is my daughter, Emily, here. There she is.
Say hi.
You'll say hi, Papa?
Tell me how old are you?
Tell her how old you are.
Hunter.
And he's your papa, isn't he?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You play any kind of instrument?
No.
Drum?
No.
You gonna learn how to play?
Yeah? All right. What do you think about your papa?
He's pretty good.
Hey, talk to another man, baby.
My name's Diane Pounders Gant,
Where do you live?
Benton, Arkansas.
What do you do?
I am a items processing specialist for FISERV. That's processing checks for savings and loans.
And what did you do? When were you?
1963, 62.
You were what,
Bandmaid. Uh-huh.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, looks approximately like he used to, just a bit older like the rest of us.
I'm doing fine.
What's your name? Your name?
Marvin Mcdaniels.
Did you know Mr. Hope here?
Yes, I did. I was on the Dollarway school board at the time he was hired. Superintendent called my wife and I over there because we'd been instrumental in raising money to get a band started. And he hired Mr. Hope that day.
That's how you got started.
I guess so.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Well, I think he's a great guy.
Where did y'all find him?
I really don't know where he came from down here, but the superintendent, Mr. Fallis, had researched and had a pretty good history on him. And then he had to go to the Army for a while, and he left his wonderful wife with us. And she instructed, took his place. I'd like not to let him get his job back when he could.
I know it. I know I got
Remain standing, please, for the Dollarway High School alma mater, directed by Mr. Perry D. Hope.
tell y'all that when I wrote this next song, I only knew 5 notes, and I managed to get them all in it.
My name is Julie Gardner, and now it's Julie Gardner Bray. I graduated from Dollarway in 1967. I'm living in Lee Summit, Missouri, a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri, where I'm a music teacher, and I've been teaching music since I graduated from college. I've taught on different levels, elementary, junior high, and I taught for the University of Wisconsin when I lived up there for 9 years. I'm really happy to be here and see so many familiar faces. It's really great. And thanks for having this. Mr. Hope, I just have incredible memories of band. It did so much for me personally, built my self-esteem, helped me feel truly a part of a tradition that my father had been a part of. And so the band is just a part of my life. And I just thank you for everything you did for me, getting me to play the oboe, and that was really great for me. And so I just hope you have a really great rest of your life. You've got lots of friends here supporting you. Thanks for the memories. Bye-bye.
Hello, I'm Jerry Horn of the Band Museum. We just finished hosting the Dollarway Band celebration in honor of Mr. Perry Hope. Had quite a few people show up. We played a nice long concert for them. And I'm encouraging all the people from Dollarway to bring memorabilia to the Band Museum so that I can put up a display about the various Dollarway High School bands. Thank you.
David Anderson, Mount Ida.
What do you do?
Work for the Highway Department statewide.
When did you play the instrument and when did you play?
Played first cornet, 67.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Same as I did then. Loved the old man. That I did. He's great.
Actually, when it was started, I was right there, 1961, and played the alto saxophone. And was in it the year that Mr. Hope was called into active duty, and his wife had to take over and was director for us for a while. And then he came back. It was a wonderful time. So I was in the very first band.
Tell us who you are.
Glenda Payton was Glenda Cox, in class of 62.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
Oh, I think he's wonderful. I've had an opportunity. I work for the Department of Education now, and I've had the opportunity to work with him. He was the director of the educational co-op up in Strawberry, and so we've been kind of keeping in contact, and it's been my privilege to work with him as administrator now. So it's been kind of fun. We remembered some of the old times. Yeah, we had a ball. We didn't have uniforms that first year, and but we had a good time, and we got to play a lot. And then I think it was our second year that we had the band that we actually got the old gray hot uniforms, and they were wonderful. We thought we were big stuff in them, and it was fun. We enjoyed. The band kids kind of clustered together, and we you just develop kind of a family like the choir did. I was in the choir too, and we had just enjoyed the music there at Dollarway. It was fun. We were excited when we were going to get a band and looked forward to it for a long time.
Thank you.
You bet.
I guess I was one of the few that was there the whole 8 years. Started in the 5th grade. We graduated in 68, so I started in the 5th grade. But I played in the band from the 5th through the 9th grade. Then I started playing football. I guess that me and Raymond Bearclaw, I don't guess he showed up. I played the drums, and Raymond played the trumpet. Was I guess the only two that was in the band and played football both. And like in the 9th grade, we tried both because they didn't have a marching band, but then when we got in the 10th grade, they had a marching band, so we couldn't be in the band and football both. So we played football.
And where do you live and what's your name?
I live in Kingsland, Arkansas. This is my wife, Frida. We live in Kingsland.
What's your name?
Jerry Cox. It's Frida Cox.
What do Mr. Hope, did he have an influence on you back in those old days?
Yeah, I guess he probably kept me out of trouble. When we was playing in the band, he kept me from acting up. I always thought of Mr. Hope as the influence that made me want to achieve rather than be mischievous, I guess. He could throw a ton and hit you too.
Thank you. Tell your name?
I'm Earl Blanks, B-L-A-N-K-S. We're living now in Cincinnati, Ohio.
What do you do?
I own several Party City stores, retail stores, discount party supply stores in Cincinnati.
Did you play in the band?
I did play in the band. I was a clarinet player. And I really enjoyed playing with Mr. Hope. He was an excellent instructor.
And what did you play?
I played the clarinet. Yes. And I learned a lot. Mr. Hope is an excellent person, first of all. I learned a lot from him, and he's a great musician. I really learned how to play my instrument once I got involved with Mr. Hope. Yes.
I live over on East 6th.
What do you do?
I'm a welder.
And what instrument do you play?
I played the bass drum.
And when did you play? Remember?
I played from 1960 to 1970.
What do you think about Mr. Hope?
He's the best band director I ever had. I love the heck out of that old dude.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is John Sutton. I live in Redfield, Arkansas. I was a member of the Dollarway High School Band from its beginning in 1960 until I graduated high school in 1965. I have very fond memories of Mr. and Mrs. Hope. But both were a big guiding influence in my life along with my parents. I wouldn't have missed this reunion for love nor money. And all those who do get this video, I just want to tell all of you that I love you and was happy to be here and happy to see each of you today. Thank you.
That's what we forgot.
That's where you messed up, Tommy. You got to know how to do it. Something else I was supposed to be doing. And also check the key signature. Yeah, that helps every now and then. You gonna be okay?
So are you going to ask me the question?
Yeah.
Dan Hurd, San Francisco Bay Area.
And what did you play?
Drums. 1961 through 65.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
He was an influential or fluential part of our life, and it was great.
What do you do?
I work for a steamship company.
I'm Barbara Hope, and I'm thrilled to be here. It has been absolutely wonderful, and Perry and I have just made so many memories this weekend. It'll be remembered for a long, long, long time, and it's wonderful to be here. And we have a special feeling for all, still want to call them kids, all these kids that we had years and years ago.
Tell us about when you took his place.
Oh dear, he was called back into the Army on active duty during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and so I had the band from about October that year through May. And they were good. Wait till I see David Walters. They were good. They really were. But I was so happy to get back home where I belonged.
What year was that?
62? 62? Long time ago.
And you've been married how long?
41 years.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
One man?
One man.
What's the secret?
Tolerance and he's a good man. That's it. He's a very good man. And it's been wonderful. I'd do it all over again.
You have how many children?
We have 4 children and 7 grandchildren, and we'll soon have a step-grandson who will be our 8th grandchild. So.
Mcdaniels.
Where you live?
St. Louis.
And what do you do?
I'm a school psychological examiner.
And what did you play and when?
I played bass drum. I graduated in '64.
And what do you remember about Mr. Hope?
I'll tell you, the biggest thing is he put a lot of confidence in the kids, and well, me specifically, but I think he did in all of us, because you just go to school in a kind of small, semi-rural environment, and everybody tends to stay there, and you don't think much about what you're going to do. And he truly inspired the kids as people, not just as band students. And he was, I know, one of the biggest influences in my life, just self-confidence and that sort of thing. And I think he was for a lot of kids.
Thank you.
Goodman, and he knows who I am, and I live in Star City now.
What do you do?
I'm a sheet metal worker for the Union Pacific Railroad.
And what did you play and when?
I played baritone from, I graduated 65, so it was probably, I played from about 60 to 65.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
Breaking a baton over the top of my head. He was good at that. And he'll know what I mean when they say that, too.
He made an impact on your life?
He broke a bunch of batons over a bunch of kids' heads.
Okay.
Thank you.
Heard, and I graduated in 65. I live at Royal, Arkansas. That's right outside Hot Springs. Well, housewife, and I help my husband put on fishing tournaments, and we have a TV show on Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock on Channel 4. It's a hunting and fishing show. Yeah. What did I play? I played the flute and piccolo. Well, I graduated in 65, and I was there when it started, so whatever year it started.
And what do you have to say about Mr. Hope?
Oh, I loved him. It started in 60? Okay, I was there when it started in 60, and I graduated in 65. Oh, I just love Mr. Howe. You know, I don't know anything else to say. That was all I didn't study. All I did was practice on my flute. So I made A's in band, and I'm not saying anything about anything else, you know. It wasn't that good.
Yeah, I knew him. Loved him. Miss Hope, too. Loved both of them. I didn't play in band.
He was a football player.
I married the...
He married the band player.
I married the band player.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
My name is Edna Irvin McKinney. I live in Deer Park, Texas. I'm an inspection coordinator for an engineering firm.
And what instrument you played and when?
I played B-flat clarinet starting out in 1960, and then Mr. Hope asked me to start playing the bass clarinet, and I believe that was in 1962. And I also graduated in 1965.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
I remember that Mr. Hope was very strict as a band director, but also very good and caring about his students. I remember that he, being an Army person, he expected that of his people as well, to be very meticulous in what they did and in the way we presented ourselves on the field as well as in concert. Thank you.
No, my mother, Pierce's is what we're from. Pierce's is what was my mother's maiden name, I guess. But my name is Ann Lancaster Gashaw. I live in Mesquite, Texas. I'm a district manager for a gas distribution company.
When did you play and what did you play?
I played from 60 to 65, and I played the clarinet, and then I was a majorette in the band.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
He was lots of fun. I guess the thing I remember most about him is the majorettes is how we got upset because we always had to wear the long pants, the long jackets, the tall hats, where all other majorettes had the little slinky outfits on. So we always liked to go to summer camp in Dumas because we could do our own outfits, and so we always did the shorts and all that stuff, and he didn't know that. But he was a lot of fun. He was a good teacher, and he was really concerned about his students and everything, and I think it's terrific that somebody is honoring him with us coming back and stuff. Thank you.
My name, Janet Wilson Chavis. I'm married to John Chavis, and I live in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Actually, I'm a very complex person. I have two jobs. I play the piano at First Assembly of God, North Little Rock, and then I'm a research technologist at UAMS in the Department of Anatomy.
What did you play and when?
I played flute, and I started while I was in the 6th grade, so that was about 63, something like that. And I played through the 11th grade, whatever year that was, 67, I think.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
He scared me to death. He was so tall and big, and I was such a little kid, you know. And he used to get mad at the trumpets a lot, you know, wrong notes and all that stuff. And I sat right in front of his podium because I played the flute. And so he'd get really mad, and he'd stomp the podium really hard, and he wears a size 14 shoe. And I mean, the dust would just fly everywhere, and I would start shaking, you know, because I was so scared of him. But that's really what I remember about him. But he was a wonderful person, and I enjoyed band so much, so much.
So you finally got over that?
Yeah, I did.
You got to know it.
I did, yeah. He wouldn't really hurt you. He'd just scare you to death.
She did play the son, didn't she?
Where at?
From 1961 to 62. That's Miss Rendell Rutledge right there. First chair, Ray Vardaman, second chair.
Mr. Hope, the band director.
Madden Funkhauser.
And what did you play?
Clarinet.
What year?
68.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
Oh, he was a very fine band director. Encouraged you, kept you interested in band.
Where do you live?
Fort Smith, Arkansas.
What do you do?
Health information management. I do consulting in nursing homes and coding in medical records. Mm-hmm.
Daryl Croswell.
What did you play and when?
I was in the year 1967, 1968. I played tenor sax.
Where you live?
Sherwood, Arkansas.
What do you do?
I'm a assistant professor for the University of Arkansas for medical sciences.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
I remember he was pretty loud when you know, I wasn't a very good saxophonist, and so whenever I made mistakes, you know, he was pretty loud. He banged that baton and let us know about that. So.
Just in case you say something you did forgot to say.
I don't know these people. These people are all strangers. They pretended to be in a Dollarway band just so they could come to a big party.
Probably from Whitehall.
The microphone's off.
Or share the stick. All right, yeah.
Hello, I'm Jeannie McDaniel Wooten. I was not in the band, but I was a bandmate, and I'm having a great time.
What year were you bandmate?
Oh gosh, I think 64. Don't take my word on that because that's been too long ago.
Where do you live?
I live at Whitehall. Just out. I'm secretary at Dollarway Junior High School. Yeah.
You're back at old home?
Yes, I've been working in the district for 20 years, so so I didn't go too far.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
I remember that his style was real military, and our majorettes had long pants. That was kind of unique for that time, and my dad and mom worked real hard with the band, Mr. and Miss McDaniel, and I'm glad to be here.
She talks a long time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't turn it off.
What? No,
She was
I was
one
a
of our
bandmate. I raised money for you. 1967 or 66. Sandy McAdoo.
What's your name?
Sandy McAdoo.
And where do you live?
Little Rock.
What do you do?
Southwestern Bell Telephone Company for 28 and a half years.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
He was a nice guy. Everybody loved him. Thank you. He's a nice guy and everybody still loves him.
Y'all done got me. Like I told you, Mr. Hope was the greatest man in the world.
He was.
He,
I'm in there too if I have to do that. Huh?
What's your name?
My name is Christine, used to be Greer, and this is my husband, David Lynch.
Where do y'all live?
We live on Evans Road, yeah, right here.
What do you do?
Nothing, and I like it.
Tell us, did you play in the band?
I played a French horn and a baritone saxophone.
What year?
I don't know. That was a long time ago.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
Mr. Hope is just the most wonderful person in the world. That's what I remember. It makes me cry, so turn that thing off.
Thank you.
A little heavier, but
Hi
also
there.
being
How you
skinny.
doing?
Fine, how are you?
Your name?
Ramona Wynn Green.
Where you live?
Went to school with David.
Yeah, I remember.
I live here in Pine Bluff.
And what do you do?
What do I do? I work for the Deputy Director of the Department of Correction.
And did you play in the band?
Yes, I sure did.
What year?
66 and 67.
What do you remember?
Clarinet.
What do you remember about Mr. Hope?
What do I remember? I was scared of him. Where is he? Where is he?
Thank you for this wonderful day, for the precious memories, for the good time that we're having. We ask that you would.
It's a special occasion as we pay a great tribute to a man that has influenced our lives in many, many ways. And as the director of the band says, he came to Dollarway in 1960 and stayed there through the 68 year. I think we had 287 names on our list, as close as we could come in collecting names of students that were in the band throughout that time, at one time or another. Some even just 1 year, some 2 years, some 6 years. But we're glad that you're here and glad for you to make this a special occasion. I want to recognize a few people to begin with. First of all, thanks to the committee. The list of names in the committee there. They have done a tremendous job in making the preparation. All the smokers coming back in now, okay? But the committee, we've kind of had a special treat in it. This is the culmination of the reunion for us. We've been doing it now for about 7 months, really. Sammy Bearden called me in December, left a message on my answer machine, and I said, "Sammy who?" And in fact, I don't know that I even returned the call for 2 or 3 days. And he finally called again and jogged my memory, and then I realized who he was. Of course, he's much younger than me. And but we began at that time in planning and had our first meeting in January, and we've had a great time in the planning of it, as we would sit and start telling tales on each other rather than taking care of business and doing things we needed to. But it's been a great opportunity for us to make reacquaintance anyway and have a good time with this. At this time, I would like to introduce again Mr. Perry Hope and his wife Barbara, and I would like to introduce the head table, or maybe Barbara needs to introduce, whichever is more eloquent with it or can speak the shortest. Would of you.
To say it's so wonderful to be here with you all tonight. This has been such a glorious day, and one that we'll carry in our memories for a lifetime. This one? Oh, listen to me. Oh, thank you. Not quite so tall. Thank you, Raymond. At the first table is my son-in-love. This is Stephen Penny. Our daughter, Leslie. Y'all remember her when she was this tall? That's Leslie. Next to Perry is my mother, Rita Chalfant. Next to her is our baby son who was born right after we left Dollarway. That's Chuck. And the next one, the pretty red-headed girl, is going to be my daughter-in-law. She is engaged to our son, Pete's, Dinah Chance. And it just means so much for us to be able to share this day with them. And thank you all for everything.
And those that live locally or within driving distance, I mean, you can go and visit Chuck at Haverty's Furniture Store, and he'll be glad to sell you a house full of furniture.
Do I owe you anything?
We'll take it out in furniture. Another special guest would like to introduce Mr. and Mrs. Marvin Mcdaniels. Mr. McDaniels was on the school board when we started the band program and was very instrumental in starting the band and raising money for the program, as well as some of you didn't get the joys of being in that first Marvin McDaniel band room. But we did. We did. Yes, we did. Would y'all stand, please? If those boards and woods and shingles could talk. Windowsills also, yes. I was a football jock. Yeah. And the band started that year, and after football season was over with, I found myself running around with David Walters and John Hurd and a couple other guys. They ended up in the band room all the time. And Perry Hope said, "You're in here all the time, why don't you join the band?" I said, "Well, I've got a trombone stuck in the closet at home." So second semester, I changed my schedule and joined the band. And after one semester in band, I said, this is it. This is it. And I started playing football the next year and went through two-a-days, and at the end of one day, we ran about 10 wind sprints, I think. And I thought, I don't want to run any more of these wind sprints. So I went up and told Coach Stiffer, I said, I'm joining the marching band. He said, what? And so I've been full-fledged ever since, graduated from college, and I've taught 27 years in band, teaching band. In 1979, I decided to make money for a living and didn't teach for 3 years, but it wasn't all it was cracked up to be, and I went back into teaching, and I'm presently band director at Whitehall High School. No booze, please. They need all the help they can get, and I figured I was the one to do it, you know? Okay? Teaching there at Whitehall, and I better say something nice about him since Dr. Jones is one of my Board of Trustees boss, and the boss over there, so I'll make sure that we don't say anything quite derogatory. But that's where we are now back here in Pine Bluff and enjoying it very much, and we are so excited about this day. Your name and what you played and when you played in the band.
My name is Larry Sears. I started out in the training band about 60, 61, and I went all the way through up until 2 years after Mr. Hope left. I played bass drum, and I'm now a welder at Pine Bluff Ironworks. Been there for 18 years.
Really hold a very special place in our heart. But what better way to start this off than having people tell some of the events, places, dates, and names and things than those that worked the closest with Mr. Hope in his tenure there. The drum majors of the band. We're very fortunate tonight to have 3 of the drum majors here. David Walters, Tommy Thompson, and Ruth Watson-Boozier. And at this time, we're going to have the drum majors come and recall some of those great times. And first of all, we're going to have the first drum major of the Dollarway High School Marching Band, David Walters.
You know, the look. You remember the look, don't you? I never actually got the look myself, I don't think. However, I sat in a direct line to the drummers. So, do you remember what Mr. Hope used to say about drummers? We have no children here this evening, but there were a lot of looks that came right by me going back to the drummers. And I got a couple of ricochets, but Mr. Hope used to say, I recall that he said once, I recall, maybe several times, that drummers were just a different kind of bastard. Well, maybe that's good. Now, I heard someone when I was in the restroom getting dressed, I heard Linda Sue refer to getting those batons thrown at her. And I actually never got a baton thrown at me either. But I know several people around me did. I think most of those were drummers behind me, but did he throw it this way or this way? I know he hit them a lot, and they flew in different directions. Rendell Rutledge sat behind me to this direction, and he got some. James Adams sat next to me when he changed over to French horn, and I remember James getting a couple. But I think the drummers got most of them, all in all. I remember also the first time that we met. I believe it was on a Tuesday evening when the ad ran in the paper and asked for anyone who was interested in forming a band at Dollarway to come to a meeting at 7 or 7:30 on a particular evening. And I believe it was a Tuesday or Thursday. It was sometime during the week, and they had already moved in the little white frame building in place that Mr. McDaniel was probably solely, more so than anyone, instrumental in starting the band program at Dollarway. And the band hall was named after him appropriately. It served us well for a number of years, even though it was a frail-looking white frame building. It did serve us. We were all friends then. I don't remember anyone in band who I didn't like or wasn't friends with. And many of us were close friends and spent a lot of time together. I know there were several people with me on a particular day when we were walking down the street, Haley Street, beside the school, and you know the old white building was surrounded by about a 6-foot chain link fence with barbed wire on top. And we saw smoke coming out of it. And, you know, I guess you could say by providence, if we had not been, there were a number of us who were in band walking down the street after school or on a Saturday. I believe it was maybe a weekend, but if we had not come by there at that particular time, another probably 5 minutes and the building would have been gone. So the fledgling band program would have had to start again. But we got through that fence and broke in the building. Some of us were good at breaking in buildings, and I think, anyway, we broke in the building and we stripped that building, got all the instruments out, even got Mr. Hope's file cabinets out by the time the fire department got there. And the old furnace that was in the instrument room had malfunctioned and caught the floor on fire. I was fortunate enough as the first drum major to also be the sponsor of the first 3 band queens that we had: Evelyn Johnson, Kathleen Williams, and Sharon. Yeah, Sharon Scarlett, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember her married name. You all remember the nice, lovely gray uniforms that we had. That we all worked hard, and I'm sure those band queen programs went a long way to pay for those uniforms. We were all trying to raise funds in those days, and I think the main reason for that was to pay for uniforms. But they were wool, and they didn't smell very good when you got them wet, I can tell you that. Yeah, yeah. But the majorettes, you know, they had a particularly nice uniform, didn't they? You remember them? I'm getting a little feedback. Can everyone hear me all right? Majorettes' uniforms were really just like everyone else's, weren't they? Except the little vest. Did they have a vest? Oh, a white stripe. Oh, accent stripe. Okay. All right. Well, nothing was going to show in Mr. Hope's band. You know, no skin was going to show in that, I tell you. I'm wondering how many of the first majorettes are here tonight. Andrea? 3. Would you 3 ladies come up, please? Come up. I don't know if you know this, but... Oh, do we? Do we? Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Why don't you all come forward then? Come on up. I don't know if you know it, but Mr. Hope was quite an innovator, and he was really good at inventing things. And one thing that he invented, I believe we brought the prototype for this. Just hold on just a minute. First band, we had a little problem with keeping a straight line. Did any of the later bands have that problem with, you know, you majorettes were right there out front, right behind me, and you had a little problem keeping a straight line. So Mr. Hope came up with it. This is something that never really got put into action because apparently you girls got your act together before he had to implement this device. But I'm going to ask the first 3 majorettes to. This is a 3-person unit. I'm going to ask the first three majorettes to come forward and help me demonstrate.
That's worse than the uniform.
Okay. All right, Ann, right in the middle. Hold it right up to your neck. Yes, I do. I was going to ask you to twirl.
I got on a dress, they need.
I was going to ask you to twirl in that, but I think you better not. Go ahead and twirl. Very good, very good. Now wait. Let me step out of the way here.
I hadn't done this in 32 years.
You know, yeah. I remember getting hit a few times by these things. As the first drum major, I also, I paved the way for some of you later drum majors that came along, and I'm going to ask you to show your appreciation this evening. Of course, I don't know how many of you have seen Mr. Hope's device that you know about throwing batons and breaking batons. Have you ever seen the one that he used from the really bad days? There is one other thing that I have kept all these years. Mr. Hope, again, he invented another item, and I just want to tell you that I think that you will see why I want you to give me a little bit of gratitude for, after 30-some odd years of keeping this aside and a secret. I stole this from Mr. Hope before he could put this into action, but he's quite an innovator. Excuse me just a minute. What would the band have looked like with the drum major wearing this kind of uniform? It's lovely. It's just lovely. Of course, Barbara, I haven't forgotten you. You know, Mr. Hope was a military man, and our second year in band, he was called away to the Cuban crisis, to active service. And Barbara took over for him, and we have fond memories of Barbara. Barbara said we had some conflicts. I don't remember any, but I was going to bring a prop tonight, but I couldn't find a whip. No, all humor aside, Barbara stepped in and took over for her husband when he was called to active duty, and I guess it's taken a long time to really see, appreciate the things that she did, but she did a good job with the band in his absence, and we really appreciate her too. after, at the age of 53, I feel like I possibly can get by with putting Mr. and Mrs. Hope aside and saying Perry and Barbara. I think we all really, really appreciate the influence that you've been in our lives. And you were a rock for us. That we all knew we could always lean on. And I have a lot of fond memories about the years that I was in band under Mr. Hope and Mrs. Hope. We thank you very much.
Thank you, David. I was trying to remember which one of those majorettes it was that made the wrong turn and caught my slide with their baton and bent it in an L shape. No, Sandra. Sandra Medlin, she's not here. Yes, she's bent my slide just about like that. It wouldn't work then. A hard act to follow now, but Tommy Thompson, would you come, please?
Well, as graceful as ever. You see why they didn't want me in the regular part of the band? I tell you what, it's the most difficult thing in the world to try to stand up here and follow David Walter. I tell you, and I'm not even going to try. You know, even whenever I became drum major, I told him even later, I said, you know, David, I just don't know whether I can fill your shoes or not. He said, don't worry, I'm taking them with me. Use your own. I want to tell you that this afternoon was the most exciting thing. For me as an individual, I don't know about you, but I had a ball. And I wish, I don't know, how many of you actually played in the band this afternoon up there at the community? Raise your hands big and high. I tell you, you're brave folks. But I want to tell you that those of you who were out there sitting and watching those of us hide inside of all those other players playing, you didn't get to see the expressions on Mr. Hope's face when he got up there and directed us. You know, and he made those little snide or little cutesy remarks, you know, right before we'd play a concert. You remember those things? And he'd look over his glasses and kind of do this at you and tell you some cute little joke to put you at ease before he got started. He did the same thing this afternoon. It was like being in a time warp. You know what I mean? I kind of halfway expect tonight to go home and turn on the TV and it's going to be The Fugitive and the Beverly Hillbillies. I have gone back in time, folks. This is amazing. And I'm going to read something here that I had actually written a few days ago, and you're going to see that drum majors don't exactly collaborate or even share information, because I'm going to repeat a few things that David said, but I don't think it'll diminish anything that he said. I'm honored to be one of the few here tonight that's going to be able to talk here. And like a lot of you, I was around at the beginning whenever he first started the band here at Dollarway. I graduated just a year before he actually decided to leave, and for him to decide to move on to other pastures, if you consider Dial Junior High School a better pasture. Obviously, he only stayed 1 year. As a result, those in my class had a pretty good bird's eye view of his tenure at Dollarway. Most of you can picture in your mind's eye special times that you had as a band member. Most of them probably represent quite pleasant times in the band. And all of them will give you a pretty true picture of what it was like to be in Mr. Hope's band. I thought I might take you on a trip down memory lane just a little bit by challenging your senses Now, most of you probably leafed through your annuals and yearbooks in recent days to jog your memories of people who might be here today, just so that you might be able to call them by name just like you knew them just as well as your own name. When in actuality, and the cobwebs in your mind, just like mine, have caused us to forget names that we once knew that were as well as our own. In those yearbooks, we see faces of our young friends from yesterday, as well as our own innocent mugs on the brinks of our futures. And even though the pictures in the annuals are still pictures, they can bring to mind home movie kinds of memories of the times that we spent together. Regarding the five senses, I've alluded to the sense of sight. But what about our other four senses? The sense of taste. Now, I wouldn't dare speculate on where your lips or tongues were during those years, except to say that I know that they were often engaged in attaching themselves to the mouthpiece of some instrument or another. However, I can't account for those in the percussion section over there. And as to the sense of taste, do you woodwind players remember the taste of a new reed on your instrument? And you brass players, do you remember the taste and placement of your mouthpiece against your lips? Just think about that. And speaking of brass players, remember spit valves? Well, the rest of us do because we had to watch where we stepped. Regarding the sense of taste, do any of you remember the taste of those chocolate almond bars that we had to sell as part of a fundraiser? I say supposed to sell, because I suspect we band members ate half of those candy bars. Speaking of fundraisers, remember Mr. Hope having us sell magazine subscriptions with stuffed animals as prizes? Remember selling flower and vegetable seeds? Remember selling tickets to A Guy from Venus, the musical we put on? Jackie Minshew, you do. Do you remember the times when we were raising money for the Band Queen drives? Do you remember a time when Mr. Hope wasn't having us selling something as a fundraiser for the band? Now to the sense of touch. Now, remember how our hands and fingers gripped the various metal instruments with our fingers against the ivories or the valves, the brass slides, the mallets, drumsticks, as we held on to the straps and the handles of our instrument cases. Remember what that felt like? Remember when we thumbed through the music in our folios? When we raised or lowered those rough black music stands? Remember how that felt against your hands? And maybe screwed tightly the musical lyres on your instruments? The only other references to touching or feeling that I dare mention might be the feeling against our backsides of those hard metal chairs. Remember those in the band room? Or those splintery wood bleachers out on the football field. And oh yes, the feel of that band uniform against your skin. Remember how it felt to slide your arms through that gray satin-lined jacket and button them up? And to put that snug band hat on around your head with that little red plume in the top? Now, didn't that make you feel like you're really in the band? And how did it make you feel when you had to give up your uniform, when you had to turn it in for the very last time, when graduation approached? Now to the sense of smell. This could open up a whole can of worms, but I'll be careful. Just bear with me. Do you remember, or those of you old enough to remember, the smell of that old band building? I'm referring to that little old white house that was parked in the northwest corner of the football field, which we refer to as the Marvin Mcdaniels band building. Do you remember how we were all crammed into that little house with Mr. Hope? Often with many of us sitting in the windowsills with our rear ends hanging out. That was the building that had this post right in the middle of this institutional green band room. You remember that? The building that had not one flat floor in it. In fact, do you remember Mr. Hope's office floor just gave way completely? Remember that? And do you remember that the building's air conditioning involved opening the windows? Do you not also remember the smell of cork wax that the woodwind players used to grease the joints of their instruments? And the cans of Silvo that the brass players used. Remember that stuff? Do you recall the aroma of the inside of your individual instrument case? How many of you can recall the smells of that old unair-conditioned band room, and maybe each other too? And then when we moved into the new band and choir building that had those huge folding vinyl doors, you remember, separating the band and the choir rooms? Do you remember the smells of that new building with its newly waxed floors? And it had bathrooms that on occasion were clean. Do you remember those old gray band uniforms and how the hot wool smelled when we wore them to the state contest that Mr. Hope took us to in Hot Springs or wherever it was we went? And it was hot and muggy. Or when it would rain and our uniforms got wet. Does that not bring back a smell or two? Somehow that stink faded a bit, though, when we found ourselves uniformly warmed on a bitterly cold fall Friday night, standing in the end zone, awaiting our turn to go onto the Cardinal football field to perform counter marches during the halftime show. Do you also not remember the smell of that muddy grass, which we marched across after playing the fanfare? And also the smell of singed hair after the majorettes did their occasional fire baton routine? Do you recall marching in livestock rodeo parades and Christmas parades, following the horses and avoiding their gifts on the street? The smells which we band buzzards endured. Remember that expression? Speaking of smells, how many of you remember the smells of Mr. Hope's cigarettes in the office as he would talk to you in his office or on the repair room right next to it? And how many of you remember when he had to replace pads on your woodwind instrument, sealing them with rubber cement, and then he'd blow cigarette smoke through your horn to check for leaks? Talk about a stogie. Now, since the band was probably most associated with music, I finally refer here to the sense of hearing or sound. Mr. Hope will probably appreciate this most because he was the one who had to stand in front of us with his ever-waving baton and listen to those excruciating early attempts of each one of us putting an instrument up to our mouths and blowing that first honk, squeak, or blat. And amazingly enough, he had the patience and perseverance to stand remaining there until we got it right, or at least improved to the point that it sounded something closely resembling familiar music. I still contend to this day that Mr. Hope voluntarily re-upped into the military during the Cold War to get away from us. And also that his wife Barbara, who substituted for him as band director while he was away, threatened him with his life if he didn't get back there in a hurry. Other sounds which should spark a memory or two include that of the metronome in the band room. Tick, tock, tick, tock. And remember our attempts to try to tune our instruments with that little brown electronic tuner box that Mr. Hope patiently had to stand in front of to get it right? Do you remember that it sometimes would take 45 minutes to get us all tuned up? And we'd still have only 10 minutes left in the period to play? And then we'd still play sharp or flat. Do you recall the times we'd make Mr. Hope so angry that he'd stop and lecture us for 30 minutes and sometimes stomp off his podium and march into his office and just leave us there like deer caught in the headlights. And other times he would just laugh and tell us jokes about what it was like to play in Scrubby Watson's Pine Bluff Band. Laugh, laugh, laugh. And do you remember how red his face got whenever he got angry? You remember how red his face got when he started laughing? And how even redder it got when he couldn't stop laughing? Do you remember a time his face didn't ever get red? Ah, sounds. Do you remember when Mr. Hope would tap his baton lightly against the director's stand? Do you recall that when he would just lightly tap it once before we'd start a piece during a concert? And how he'd hit it pretty hard when he was trying to get our attention during the rehearsal? Now sometimes he even throw it at a brass player percussionist when he's really PO'd. And do you recall how at times he'd just tap the baton just once, hold his arms up, ready for the downbeat, and say to us in the most desperately pleading voice, "Now let's take it from the top and play this to the end without stopping." And of course, you know we almost never made it there without stopping. But it never stopped him from dreaming that we could. If it hadn't been for concerts, we probably never would have played some of those pieces straight through the end. Despite the fact that much of our music making left a lot to be desired, we did manage to eventually come together and put forth a pretty good sound. Remember how satisfying it was when we finally got the march together called March Grandioso? Remember that? And how about Stars and Stripes Forever? Remember when the percussion blew us away with Serenade to a Sand Dune? Anybody? Remember when the cornets and trumpets reveled us with Bugler's Holiday? Had some triple tongue in there, didn't we? And also some individual band members really distinguished themselves on their instruments. Just a few here to mention. You remember how good Annette Farrell and Andrea Cooper were on their clarinets? Janet Wilson on flute. David Walters and Johnny Sutton on saxophone. John Hurd, Clifton Dean, Tommy Harvey on trumpet cornet. Ray Vardaman, Brenda Rutledge on trombone. Billy Cravens and Randall Hoffman on sousaphone. Carolyn Boggs and Dan Hurd on drums. And Mr. Hope when he would grant us a rare performance. Do you remember those? Do you remember when you very first heard Sherry Johnson play the piccolo? Or Edna Irvin play the bass clarinet? These are strange instruments to us. Or John Adams or Kay Lee play the French horn? Remember Catherine Bearden and Kathy Poindexter on timpani and marimba for the first time? Do you remember the first sounds of Julia Gardner on the oboe? Ruthie Watson on the bassoon. And Janie Gardner is our first string bass player. Now, reminiscing would not be complete without mentioning three sounds that will forever remain as trademark Dollarway band sound. The first is the fight song, which Mr. Hope wrote, and the other two were our alma maters. Now, I say two because when Mr. Hope first came to Dollarway, we played one alma mater, and then in 1966, Mrs. Eden wrote a new alma mater, which Mr. Hope arranged for the band. Ah, the five senses associated with being in the Dollarway band with Mr. Hope. The tastes, the feels, smells, the sights, and the sounds of that time. Your memories recall all of these and many others which we haven't mentioned here. And to you, Mr. Hope, we thank you for those memories. And Mr. Hope, if you'll come up here, please.
take 2 trips.
We'd like to present you, this is what was on those t-shirts that we're selling after, which we still have a few in case you like that. But this is it on a plaque, and we'd like to present to Mr. Hope tonight and say thanks.
Special entertainment. And this is going to be special entertainment. Now, up. Fermata.
We also do have would you come up here? We'd like a picture of all the drum makers and Mr. Hope, if you don't mind. Would you please come up here? Mr. Hope, would you come over here and just stand right there?
Carolyn.
Isn't that cute?
Well, you need to
Just
get,
come over here and stand there.
get in the middle.
There you go.
Middle. All right. Hi, kid. How are you?
I was always Mr. Hope's favorite.
We know that, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah, we're aware.
That's right over here.
I love your hair. Well, thank you. Look familiar?
We're now going to have a performance of Mr. Hope on his infamous trombone, accompanied by 3 other trombones. We're going to have, we got together this afternoon and looked at 4 pieces of music. We got through 2 almost semi-successfully, and we're going to try to play one of them at this time. We're going to have a trombone quartet for you. Hang on just 1 minute, please. It's called a water condensation relief valve. From the 7th Symphony of Beethoven. We ran through this one time this afternoon. This was fun. There were not too many wrong notes, and we ended at the same time also. So we'll see if we can start and end together, and whatever happens in between, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm doing the second part. Okay. Okay, are we ready? That was really fun after the hour concert this afternoon, and the chops were all tired. At this time now, we've got lots of special awards and presentations that we want to make, and we're going to turn this over to Sammy Bearden and Sharon Tisdale Bearden.
That is unusual. This is my day. Right in the microphone. I usually talk loud enough, I don't need that thing. Let's see here. Dan Hurd, stand up a minute. Well, just stand up a minute.
I said how tall you are.
See if you grow, do you?
Really?
Rendell Rutledge, stand up a minute. Where's Jackie's? He got back? Jackie Minshews, he got back yet? We'll start with Rendell then. Rendell, how far did you travel?
1,400 miles.
Dan, how far did you travel? Huh? No, he's a certified preacher. He won't tell no story. How far did you travel? Okay, and I think the person that gets this award has traveled a lot farther than any of y'all. Mr. Perry Hope, would you come give this award, please?
Age and miles.
Oh, not looks and intelligence.
Okay. Now we need to know about the oldest grandfather here that was band related. Okay. So if you're a grandfather, stand up, and you're in the band or was a director of a band. Oh.
I didn't think I was that old.
Really? You don't look it. You don't look it. David, you're 53 and you're 53. And you can't get this award unless you tell us your age.
Well, I was born in 1936 in L.A.
Lower Arkansas, right?
Okay. Well, I guess
Right
you
here
get.
in Pine Bluff.
I guess you get the oldest grandfather award.
Y'all are so sweet.
I mean, it was hard. It was hard. Okay, we're really going to find out this truth. Okay, we'll get the truth out of all this later. All right. Okay, how many band directors do we have?
Jackie?
Jackie.
Ray.
Ray. Mr. Howe, are you a band director?
I'm a has-been.
Well, this has to do with band directing any kind of way.
Yeah. So, okay. And we found out all of your ages so far, 48, 53, 53, and 61. You're
I believe this is going to have to go to Mr. Hope. He's got to be the oldest band director in this building.
Is it really? I don't see anybody else at the front.
No. Turn around and face the audience, please. Just kind of do you a circle. Now, does that not remind you of Drew Carey? Huh? Does it not? Well, now, we have a photograph here.
We have the real Drew Carey.
We have the real Drew Carey right here.
He was only born about 40 years before the one that's on TV.
All of y'all remember this. I know you went around and looked at memorabilia. Don't y'all agree that Mr. Perry D. Hope should get this Drew Carey Look-alike award?
Let me stand up.
No.
No, we can't have him.
No. You're not going to get all of them.
Okay. No, I guess you did. Yeah, we are. All right, right now we need the women involved. And we have to see. Let me pick mine out. And to look around the room and see if you see any fox around, wolves, any of them that look just, we're talking about women looking for the fox, not the fox there. Okay? So, if you see a man that you would like to nominate, get up here and let us vote on the Fox Award, please just call out his name.
And have him come forward. We'll have him come forward.
We want to see who you think is a fox. I see a bunch of wolves. Okay. I see a bunch of wolves.
You think Ray? Ray, come on up here, bud.
All right. She said you're a fox.
She nominated. Your wife nominated you. Come on up here. Come on up here and face the audience. Come on up here and face the audience. Just come up here and face the audience. We're going to take a vote. All right, we're going to start over here.
Oh, excuse
Everybody that thinks Ray's the
fox.
The women now, just the women.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
think Ray's the fox in here? Clap. Real loud.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to go to Ronnie. All of the women now, just the women. Do you think Ronnie gets this? Clap.
Hey, I wasn't in the band now.
Well, you're in with it. You're married to one.
Yeah.
Clap. Okay. Now, wait a minute. We ain't voted on you yet. All the women that think Mr. Hope deserves this award, clap. Loud.
Golly.
Well, that's good because we already had it made out to him anyway.
Now, you get your chance. We don't know what we'd have done if y'all had done it differently.
Okay, any of you men that want to nominate your wife as the Foxette, we want to hear about it. You okay, Miss Hope? Come on. Come on, Miss Hope. Now, we got to have more than one.
Mama.
Yay! Well, you can just stay there.
Yeah,
All right, let's vote on Memo. All right. Now let's vote on Mrs. Hope. Well, that's good y'all did that because we had her name on the warrant already anyway. Sure am glad y'all go along with us.
This makes it so easy.
Okay, now, we got to know this. Jackie, how long have you been a band director? How long? I wear a hearing aid. You're going to have to speak up.
I got it.
Okay, you want to do this one, baby?
Yeah, I can hear. Right? How long have you been married? Okay, Randall, you said part-time you were? 2 years. Anybody else? One more?
Yes, I believe. Mrs. Hope, how long did you direct the band?
9 months.
All right.
Shortest band directing career.
Okay. All right. You older men, I'm 51, some in here older than I am. How long have y'all been married? Anybody older than 51, stand up.
Okay, let's go back.
Age, 51.
He's not right. It's we're looking for married years.
Married what?
We're looking for married years. Is the married the
That's what I'm
longest?
talking about.
Okay. So is there any couple in here that's been married over, say, 25 years?
Well, you
Okay.
got to get to 51 to do it.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. Over 25 years you've been married, stand up. Say 25 and over, then we'll start going up.
See, I'm 51. We've been married 26.
Some people got married when they was young.
Oh.
Some people got married when they were young. All right. Okay.
Their name's on it anyway. Ain't no way.
Okay, we really are going to do some serious stuff.
Rutledge.
Okay, he thinks he looks about the same.
Yeah, I think he does.
30-something years ago. You three guys come forward. Okay. We really will know. Should know them pretty much by the years that y'all were with them. All right, we'll start with Daniel since he's probably the oldest. Randall. Daryl.
And now Mr. Howe. I sure am glad y'all go along with us.
We've just got all sorts of things to present to the Hopes, and I would like to, this is not an award or anything, but I'd like to make a presentation to them. We had an article in the paper locally about the reunion and information on it, and a picture of some students. I would like to offer an apology. This picture to the side was supposed to be included with the article also, but for some reason or other, when it came out in the paper when it did, it was not included. But it did have the good picture here of some of our students, and so I had a former student of mine mat this and frame this for us. I would like to make one disclaimer. There's only one known mistake in it, in the article. Perry Hope did not play in Bud Childers' band, and it's stated in here that he did. But he worked with Bud Childers when he went to Dial Junior High School after he left Dollarway. But I was very pleased with the article, and I went to the commercial and bought the press plate from them on this, and would like for you to have this as a memento of this occasion.
Editorial license is called whenever they remove something as remarkable as this. This is a joy. Thank you very much.
We also would like to give you your own personal Mr. Hope Thanks for the Memories t-shirts.
This means we won the Drew Carey look-alike contest.
There it is, right there. Now, you only thought that you had conducted Stars and Stripes Forever for the last time this afternoon. And what a momentous occasion that was to have you in front of the band as we play Stars and Stripes today. But we need another performance of the Dollarway High School Band playing Stars and Stripes. Now, I have a recording here of 1966 of the band playing Stars and Stripes, and it's a pretty good performance, but it's kind of incomplete. It doesn't have the full instrumentation that it really needed that year. I sat and listened to the recording and critiqued it at great length and felt like there were some parts missing. So tonight, we're going to complete those parts here. At your table, each of you have a kazoo here. And we're going to give another rendition. Here they come. As you blow air through it. Now, you're not supposed to play until you're directed. Things haven't changed. Okay. But before we do this, we have another presentation to make. Finer band director at Dollarway High School than Perry D. Hope. I would like to make a presentation at this time. Mr. Hope, if you would step forward, please. Present to him this presentation case and a exquisite baton as Director Emeritus of the Dollarway High School Band, presented on this August the 8th, 1998, to Perry D. Hope. And a nice nice mahogany case and custom-made baton here for you to lead this band one last time.
All right. I have to ask a couple of questions. Is this related to up the kazoo or out the kazoo?
Probably both would apply.
That's all I needed. Can we dispense with tuning up?
Mr. and Ms. Hope, our dear friends, Perry and Barbara. Now a word from y'all, please.
This has been indescribable. Yeah, right. Coming home is always wonderful, and you all have always been and always shall be a very important part of our lives and our family. And we love you and we thank you.
I want want to share this with you all. Larry Sears left a little while ago, went home and got a picture he had of a junior band in color. You'd be surprised how many of you all are in this picture. And what was even more surprising is that it's Drew Carey that's directing this band. So, with your permission, Larry, I'm gonna send this so that it becomes part of the band museum. The beginning of that. Ray, would you take this? You might want to pass it around. Some of you may not believe you look that way.
I'll lay it back on the table.
All right.
Look at it before we leave.
Well, y'all have achieved several things with this. First of all, I finally have reached a point or a moment in life in which I'm not sure I know what to say. But I do want to make one or two little minor corrections, which is my nature. David, you're marvelous. But I want to tell you, camouflage fatigues came in long after. Otherwise, that was a remarkably stirring, accurate portrayal. Except I don't recall the pistol. I may have thought about it, but I did not. And Tommy, you made two remarks about thanks for the memories. That you were historically correct. Y'all caught the innuendo there, of course. I do want to make an effort to correct one thing, you all. Is you've done this, so thanks for the memories. I didn't make any memories. You all made memories. You all are the ones who made the memories that we celebrate tonight. And I just am glad that I was there when y'all did these things. Hardest thing I've ever had to do was write a few letters from Vietnam to mothers and wives about people that I'd known. Except for that, the hardest thing I ever did was stand up in front of a bunch of you all and tell you that I was leaving. For what it's worth to you, I never was happy after that, because I put in part of my life there, and I think it was probably part of the best part of my life. And you all made so many wonderful, wonderful memories. And I hope you all are not sad, but Ruthie, I probably really do love you the best. Yeah. And that says a lot, because I love everybody here. And I even love some people who aren't here. You all are probably the most special group of people I was ever privileged to make you afraid of me. You all, this has been so marvelous and so wonderful. I even thought a while ago that this was so wonderful. What could top this? The next thought, I said, oh, Lord, this doesn't mean that I'm fixing to die, does it? Rendell, would you work on that for me? I'm not ready, but you know, Lord help us. You all, Marvin and Trudy, honestly, you all had all this thing worked out and worked on it for at least 2 or 3 years before we ever got to a point where they could consider hiring a band director to come in and start a program. Have y'all ever wondered how many pounds of spaghetti or how many tons of chocolate bars that was sold to support things and make things go? And every year we just got a little bit better, a little bit better. And boy, my ego would know whether it could get better, and it did. It did. It got better every year. But you reach a point where you have so many kids and you have to feed them all, and you stay at the band room so much that you really don't have time to open up a market out, you know, and sell produce or anything. Y'all, it's been so special. Thank you very, very much.
And let's see, again on the museum thing, any of you that do have any stuff that you would like to donate, I will be glad to take care of that if you'll send it to me. And we can take care of that and help Mr. Horn set up the Dollarway display in the band museum. So please help us out with that. Committee members, anything else? Well, we'll work on another one here. We'll figure out what we need to do with that. Tommy, anything else? What? We do have. We still have some T-shirts left. Yes, we do. If you would like one of those, this has been great. It really has, and I hate for it to come to a close. I love every one of you, and I appreciate you being a part of it. Committee members, my dear sweet wife, I thank you for being so patient. Committee members, it was a great time in putting it together, and it's been a great occasion. Mr. and Ms. Hope, we love you.
Oh, it's
Ready? You just have to. Now make sure you get those fingers even so that. Who's gonna say cheese?
cheese.
Uh-oh.
I'm trying to figure out which one's the photographer.
The one in the center is the important one right now.
It's the one that the light hadn't gone off yet.
All the stuff on those front two tables, if y'all would just scoot on them, they'll know that they're in the picture as long as all the junk's out of the way.
But that's my...
We're gonna get the tables regardless.
Look at those yellow kazoos on the
Y'all seen my hair last year? For you, had it all outside, but you.
Are we almost there?
Is it soup yet?
Okay, right here.
Name is Willis Winston. I was in band with Mr. Howe from 1964 to 1968. I played baritone. And the one thing I remember about Mr. Hope is he used to kid me all the time about being warped because I like to study and like to learn. Oh, I live here in Pine Bluff now for the past 3 years, teaching Pulaski County and have been teaching for 25 years.
My name's Raymond Jones. I was in the band in 1968, and I played a cornet. I'm an optometric physician in Whitehall. I remember all the caricatures that they were portraying in tonight. They were all accurate.
Telephone
She's bound to Julie. You'll never have to worry about her ever again. You're my cousin. Your mama's Juanise. How is she? Next time you see her, you hug her and say, Mama, you'll never believe this, but this is from your cousin Perry. Where do you live now? Jonesboro.
I knew you were in northern part of the state, like Harrison or something at one time.
Well, Yellville Pickett, that's close.
I knew you acted that way.
But I didn't realize how much that was a part of our lives, how close we were, because she's still
We're sorry we can't be here to enjoy our planning of it. Yeah.
Why, sure.
I didn't think you could really recognize me.
Is he your
I'll probably be seeing you someplace after Judge Sunday. There he was. And I just had one hurricane, right? And I was ready to entertain. And they wouldn't, and there he was.
It's been the most special day I can remember. Thank you for everything.
Me too.
Sentimental verse, nothing in my purse, and chuckles when the preacher said for better or for worse, how lovely it was. Thanks for the memory of Schubert's serenade, little things of jade, and traffic jams and anagrams and bills we never paid. How lovely it was. We said goodbye with a highball. Then I got as high as a steeple. But we were intelligent people. No tears, no fuss. Hooray for us, and thanks for the memory. And strictly entre nous, darling, how are you? And how are all those little dreams that never did come true? Awfully glad I met you, cheerio and toodaloo. And thank you